Last Christmas Eve, my mother allotted me 24 hours to prepare a meal for 25 of my sister's esteemed friends. I found myself in the kitchen, gazing at the seemingly endless list of requirements, and at that moment, something within me finally broke. My name is Fiona Carlisle, I am 32 years old, and for the past 15 years, my affluent parents have regarded me as their personal servant. In contrast, my younger sister Elena has lived a life of luxury, entertaining guests while I have been left to scrub, chop, and serve. However, that night altered everything. What transpired next not only changed our family dynamics, it completely redefined them. It unveiled a secret that rendered everyone, including a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, utterly speechless. Before I share how I transitioned from being the family maid to having my parents plead for my forgiveness, I kindly ask you to like and subscribe, but only if you truly appreciate stories of justice being served. I would be delighted to know your location and the current time there. Please leave a comment below, I read each one. Now, allow me to take you back to that December evening when everything transformed. I was in my Manhattan apartment, meticulously folding clothes into my suitcase when my phone rang. The caller ID displayed Mom, and I instinctively knew this conversation would not be pleasant. In our family home in Connecticut, Christmas decorations twinkled on every surface. I was aware of this because I had been the one to hang them every year since I turned 17. "Lily, cancel any trivial plans you have for tomorrow," my mother Catherine stated without even a greeting. Her voice carried that familiar authoritative tone that brooked no dissent. I continued folding my business blazer. "What's happening tomorrow?" "Elena is hosting her networking group for Christmas Eve dinner. Very important individuals, Lily. 25 guests, including executives from Pinnacle Corporation." She paused, and I could almost hear her smirk through the phone. "You will need to arrive by noon to begin cooking. 7 main courses, 10 sides. The menu is already planned." My grip on the phone tightened. Elena's networking group. Naturally, my younger sister was employed in public relations and consistently seized every chance to highlight her connections. "Mom, I have your sisters forging significant relationships that benefit our family. You ought to be appreciative of this assistance." Her remarks pierced through me as they always did. "It's not as if you have anything else occupying your time." I cast a glance at my laptop, where an email from Aurelia Chin, the CEO of Pinnacle Hospitality, illuminated the screen. If only my mother were aware. "Use the fine china," she insisted. "This is not your typical crowd, Lily. These are individuals of importance. Individuals of importance, unlike me, it seems. I will send you the menu," she added. "Do not bring us shame." The call ended abruptly. I looked down at my plane ticket to Florida. Departure time, 8 p.m. tomorrow. My hand was no longer trembling. After 15 years of this, I had finally grasped the distinction between their emergencies and my priorities. I sat on my bed, memories rushing back like a bitter wave. 15 years of being unseen, except when they required something. Every Thanksgiving since I turned 17, Lily will take care of the cooking while Elena entertains our guests. Every Christmas, Lily is once again between jobs, but at least she is helpful in the kitchen. At every family gathering, Elena was presented as our accomplished daughter in public relations while I was merely introduced as Lily's here too. She is assisting. The last family gathering had been the most painful. Elena's engagement party, 200 guests at the country club. I had spent 14 hours preparing appetizers while Elena basked in the spotlight wearing a $3,000 dress that our parents purchased for her. When one of the guests inquired about my profession, my mother had actually chuckled. Lily lacks Elena's social abilities, but she is a good cook. I rose and approached my closet, retrieving my second suitcase. Inside, carefully safeguarded in a leather folder, was the contract that would alter everything. My company's name, Stellar Events, was embossed in gold at the top. I had intentionally selected a name that did not incorporate Carlisle. For 5 years, I had quietly established my empire, employing 50 individuals across 3 different locations, with a clientele that featured luxury resorts and Fortune 500 companies. Tomorrow, while my family anticipated my presence in the kitchen, I had a meeting scheduled that would secure a $2 million contract. My phone vibrated. It was a text from Elena. "Mom says you're cooking tomorrow. Don't mess it up. Important people will be present." I glanced at my plane ticket once more. Flight 447 to Fort Lauderdale, scheduled to depart at 8 p.m. "Not this time," I murmured to the empty room. For once, they would have to manage without me. I had a flight to catch. The irony was not lost on me as I continued to pack. 2 unmistakable signs had revealed my position within this family, and I had overlooked them for far too long. The first sign was their manner of introducing me. At last month's country club dinner, my father had explicitly told his golf companion, "Elena's our success story, Lily's between opportunities." Despite having secured a $500,000 contract that very morning, to them, I was eternally unemployed, eternally failing. They never inquired about my work, nor did they ponder how I could afford my Manhattan apartment or my new vehicle. Their assumption was so thorough that when I once mentioned traveling for business, my mother had laughed. "What business? Are you referring to your little cooking hobby as a business?" The second sign was even more overt. Last summer, upon visiting home, I discovered that my childhood bedroom had been transformed into a storage area for Elena's excess wardrobe. My trophies, my books, everything that represented my existence in that house was boxed up in the basement. Elena required the space, my mother had justified, as if it were self-evident. "She's building her career. Image is crucial in PR." Meanwhile, Elena had been allocated the entire 3rd floor, renovated at our parents' expense, complete with a home office and a walk-in closet. The message was unmistakably clear. One daughter was an investment, while the other was rendered invisible. I closed my suitcase, recalling the company holiday party from last week. My employees had organized a surprise celebration for me after securing the Pinnacle account. 50 individuals recognized my worth and respected my leadership. My phone buzzed with another message from my mother. "Don't forget the truffle oil. These individuals have refined tastes." These individuals. As if I didn't frequently cater events for CEOs and celebrities. But how could she know? She had never inquired. The most painful aspect was that they had never shown any curiosity. Not once in 5 years had anyone in my family asked, "So, Lily, what do you actually do all day?" They had constructed their own narrative. "Poor Lily can't maintain a job. Lives in a studio apartment." In reality, it was a 2-bedroom condo. Probably living off savings from grandma. I had invested that money into my business. At least she can cook. I employ 3 executive chefs. I took out my phone and browsed through my photos. There I was, shaking hands with the mayor at a charity gala I had catered. There was my team celebrating the opening of our 3rd location. There was the feature article about me in Hospitality Quarterly, the quiet revolutionary of luxury catering. none of these achievements had been shared with my family. I had learned early that success without their approval was somehow perceived as a threat. The one time I mentioned acquiring a significant client, my mother had quickly shifted the conversation to Elena's latest PR campaign for an energy drink. "At least you're useful in the kitchen," she had remarked, patting my hand as if I were a child who had drawn a particularly nice picture. I opened my laptop and examined my company dashboard. Stellar Events was established without a dime from my parents, built without the Carlisle name, and thriving without their endorsement. Tomorrow's revenue alone would surpass what Elena earned in 6 months, but they would never know that. My assistant had texted earlier. "Forbes wants to feature you in their 40 Under 40 issue. They are particularly interested in your story of building the business without family support." Without family support? If only Forbes were aware of the full extent of the situation. My family had not only failed to provide support, they had been willfully ignorant of my existence beyond their kitchen. If you have ever felt overlooked within your own family or experienced the sensation that your achievements are insignificant, you will comprehend the reasons behind my subsequent actions. Please leave a comment below. Have you ever had to conceal your accomplishments from toxic family members? I read every comment, and it truly means a lot to know that I am not alone in this experience. If you find value in this narrative, I kindly ask you to consider subscribing. We are in the process of creating a community of individuals who refuse to allow others to diminish their brilliance. Now, allow me to recount the text message that altered everything. My phone vibrated with a calendar reminder, and the reality struck me like a splash of cold water. If I remained silent and played the subordinate role tomorrow, I would forfeit everything I had worked tirelessly to achieve. The Pinnacle hospitality contract was not merely another agreement, it was the agreement. $2 million in exclusive catering rights for their 5 Florida resorts and a partnership that would elevate remarkable events onto the national stage. The meeting was scheduled for December 26 at 9 a.m., and it was non-negotiable. Aurelia Chen, the CEO of Pinnacle, had been unequivocal. "I am returning to Singapore on the 27th, Lily. If we do not finalize this in person, the board will opt for our second choice." Our second choice, my rival, who had been hovering around this contract like a vulture. However, this was not solely about the financial aspect. 50 employees were relying on me. Maria, my head chef, had just made an offer on her first home based on the growth this contract would facilitate. James, my operations manager, was planning to enroll his children in better schools. This was no longer just my aspiration, it had become theirs as well. I reviewed my bank statements. Indeed, I had achieved success, but this contract would transform everything. It represented the distinction between being a regional success and emerging as a national contender. The kind of opportunity that arises only once in a career. My phone rang. It was my CFO. "Lily, I am just confirming your attendance at the resort tomorrow evening for the pre-meeting dinner with Aurelia's team." "I will be present," I remarked, glancing at my packed bags. "Good." Aurelia specifically expressed her enthusiasm to meet the CEO who has built such an impressive company without any familial financial support or connections. She noted that it is uncommon to encounter such authentic success devoid of family wealth or ties. If only she were aware of how accurate that statement was. My phone chimed with an email from my mother. The subject line read, "Urgent Christmas Eve menu." My stomach churned as I opened it. 7 main courses, 10 sides, dietary restrictions for 5 guests, wine pairings, and dessert selection. The level of detail was astonishing. She had meticulously planned every single dish, every garnish, and every serving plate. Use the Waterford crystal and the silver with the monogram she had specified. These are significant individuals, Lily. One of them is Aurelia from Pinnacle Corporation. She could be instrumental for Elena's career. I nearly dropped my phone. Aurelia Chen was going to be at my parents' house. I quickly reviewed the guest list my mother had attached. There it was, unmistakably clear. Aurelia Chen, CEO, Pinnacle Hospitality. My heart raced as I absorbed this improbable coincidence. The same woman I was scheduled to meet in Florida was going to be at my parents' house, anticipating to be served by their unemployed daughter. Another text from Elena appeared. Mom says Aurelia Chen will be there. She is a significant figure in hospitality. I am hoping to propose PR services to her. Please do not embarrass me with your amateur cooking. Amateur cooking. I had just catered Aurelia's company retreat for 500 people last month, although we managed everything through my executive team. She had never met me in person. That meeting was set for tomorrow. I sat down heavily on my bed, the weight of the decision overwhelming me. Should I stay and serve the woman who was about to make me a millionaire, pretending to be a failure, or leave and risk my family's anger, but secure my future? My Uber notification appeared. Your transportation to JFK Airport is arranged for 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. I reviewed the menu once more, then glanced at my contract, followed by my plane ticket. The decision had never been more evident. I reached a conclusion. I picked up my phone and called my mother's number. She picked up on the first ring. At last, I was beginning to feel concerned that you weren't taking this matter seriously. Mom, I cannot do it. Silence ensued. Then her tone became sharp. What do you mean you cannot? I have a business trip. I am flying to Florida tonight. Do not be absurd. Her voice escalated. What conceivable business could you have? An important meeting? She actually laughed. Lily, stop being selfish. Your sister requires this. Elena has a complete catering team she could hire. With what funds? Are you aware of how costly that is? I restrained my response. The irony of her inquiring about catering expenses while speaking to someone who owned a catering business was nearly overwhelming. Family takes precedence, she retorted. Or are you too self-centered to comprehend that? I comprehend perfectly. Family takes precedence only when you require something from me. How dare you? When was the last time you inquired about my life, Mom? We are aware of your life. You are between jobs residing in that small apartment. I am a CEO. Another laugh escaped her lips. This one was cruel. A CEO of what? Your fictitious company? It is not fictitious. I employ 50 individuals. Lily, enough with the delusions. Elena requires this. You owe us. I owe you. We raised you, nourished you, provided you with a home while treating me like hired help. You are being theatrical. What else do you have to occupy your time? Sit in your apartment alone on Christmas? I glanced at my business class ticket. I have a flight at 8 p.m. Cancel it. No. If you depart, do not bother returning. The threat lingered between us, the same one she had employed countless times before. Typically, it was effective. Typically, I yielded. Then, I suppose this is farewell, I said softly. You cannot be serious. I am finished being the family servant, Mom. I am finished being invisible until you require something. You ungrateful. I ended the call. My hands trembled. However, for the first time in 15 years, it was not due to fear or anger. It was a sensation of freedom. My phone instantly filled with messages from Elena. What did you just do? Mom is having a meltdown. Stop being so dramatic and come over here. I switched off my phone and resumed packing. They would sort it out. They always did when necessary. I powered my phone back on to clarify one thing. It rang right away. Elena, what is wrong with you? She yelled. Mom is calling all the relatives, claiming you've lost your mind. I have a business meeting on Christmas Eve. Stop lying. I am not lying. This is about that ridiculous argument last month, isn't it? When Mom gave me your room. My room was turned into your closet years ago, Elena. And no, this concerns my actual career. What career? You cook occasionally. I own a catering company. Sure you do. Her tone was laced with condescension. Look, I will pay you to cook. How about $200? I nearly laughed. My daily rate for personal chef services was $5,000. Not that she would ever know. This is non-negotiable, Elena. I will not be coming. Mom will disown you. That is her decision. You are truly going to ruin Christmas? Ruin my networking opportunity? Aurelia Chen will be present. Then hire a caterer on Christmas Eve. Are you out of your mind? No one is available. I walked to my kitchen counter where I had left a notepad earlier. On it, I had noted 3 catering companies that managed last-minute emergencies along with their 24-hour hotlines. It was more than they deserved, but I was not entirely heartless. I left a note on my kitchen counter with some numbers. I am not driving to Manhattan to retrieve your silly note. Then search for emergency catering services on Google. You are being selfish. I am being professional. My business necessitates travel. What business? She shouted. Stop pretending to be something you are not. The Uber notification appeared. Your driver will arrive in 2 hours. I must leave, Elena. If you do this, you are dead to us. I am already invisible to you. What is the difference? I ended the call and completely powered down my phone. On the kitchen counter, I positioned the note containing the catering numbers prominently, just in case they happened to stop by. Beside it, I left a copy of my business card, which stated Fiona Carlisle, CEO, Stellar Events. They were unlikely to come. They would not see it. However, I would at least be aware that I made an effort to assist, even as I prioritized myself for the first time. The plane took off from JFK precisely at 8:07 p.m. At that moment, I finally let out a breath. Below me, Connecticut faded into a haze of lights. Somewhere down there, my mother was likely anxiously calling every relative, portraying me as the ungrateful daughter who deserted family during Christmas. I retrieved my laptop and accessed the Pinnacle contract once more. There it was, Clause 15.3, which mandated the CEO's presence for all strategic planning sessions. Aurelia had personally insisted on that clause, stating she only collaborated with founders who were actively involved. My email inbox displayed 17 new messages from Aurelia's team, all affirming the schedule for tomorrow. The dinner was set for 7 p.m. The formal presentation was scheduled for 9 a.m. on the 26th. The contract signing would occur immediately after pending board approval. I opened Aurelia's latest email. Looking forward to finally meeting you in person, Lily. I have been following the growth of stellar events for 2 years. Your reputation precedes you. My reputation. If only she were aware that the same woman she was about to partner with was meant to be serving her dinner at my parents' house right now. A text from my assistant arrived via the plane's Wi-Fi. Forbes is inquiring if they can mention your family background in the article. They are interested in the angle of having built from scratch without family support. I replied, please confirm that the article is scheduled to run on December 27th, correct? Yes, it will go live at midnight on the 26th, perfect timing. By the time my family realized who I truly was, the contract would be signed, and the news would be public. I accessed the draft of the Forbes article they had sent for my approval. The headline stated, From Invisible to Invaluable. How Fiona Carlisle established a catering empire without any family funds. It appeared that the universe had a peculiar sense of humor regarding timing. The luxurious resort suite left me in awe. Floor-to-ceiling windows provided a view of the Atlantic, and a bottle of champagne awaited on ice, accompanied by a handwritten note. Welcome, Miss Carlisle. I look forward to our collaboration, Aurelia Chen. I placed my bags down and checked my phone. There were 47 missed calls from my mother, 18 from Elena, and even 3 from my typically quiet father. I deleted the voicemails without listening. Instead, I opened my email to discover something that brought a smile to my face. My PR manager had sent the final proof of the Forbes article along with a note. They have promoted you to the cover story. It will be available at every newsstand on December 27th. The cover featured my photo, looking professional and confident, a stark contrast to the invisible daughter my family was familiar with, now gracing the cover of Forbes. The article encompassed everything. It detailed how I had begun with $5,000 saved from my waitressing job. It explained how I had built the company without any investors and how I had deliberately chosen to succeed without leveraging my family's connections. Another email caught my attention, this time from Aurelia herself. Lily, I will be arriving late to tomorrow's dinner, as I am coming directly from a social obligation in Connecticut. I hope that is acceptable. Connecticut. She was likely at my parents' house at that moment, probably questioning the whereabouts of the promised extravagant dinner. My assistant texted again. The Forbes reporter is inquiring if you will discuss your family's reaction to your success. I contemplated this. Inform them that my family will learn of it when everyone else does. When the magazine hits the stands. That's harsh, boss. I love it. I walked over to the window, observing the waves crashing against the shore. In 12 hours, I would finalize the most significant deal of my career. In 36 hours, my face would be featured on every Forbes magazine across the nation. Sometimes, the most effective form of revenge is not revenge at all. It is the success they never anticipated. While I rested soundly in my suite in Florida, turmoil erupted in Connecticut. Based on the messages I reviewed the following morning, the calamity had transpired precisely as anticipated. By 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve, my mother had come to the realization that I would not be attending. The kitchen was immaculate and deserted, the refrigerator filled solely with basic provisions, and 25 famished guests were set to arrive in an hour. Elena's frantic messages conveyed the situation. Mom's losing it. She's calling every restaurant within a 50-mile radius. Everything's closed. How could you do this to us? My father finally texted at 6:45 p.m., "Your mother is having a breakdown. Please reconsider." At 7 p.m. sharp, the guests began to arrive. Investment bankers, PR executives, and most notably, Aurelia Chen, CEO of Pinnacle Hospitality. They arrived expecting an extravagant home-cooked Christmas Eve dinner, the type my mother had boasted about for weeks. Elena's message at 7:23 p.m. read, "We're ordering pizza." "Pizza, Lily, do you comprehend what you've done?" At 7:47 p.m., she added, "Mom just told everyone you're unreliable and always have been. She's blaming you for everything." The pizza was delivered at 8:15 p.m., 5 boxes from Papa John's and 3 from Domino's, as one chain could not fulfill the last-minute order. My mother, who had spent weeks boasting about her daughter's elaborate cooking, was now serving delivery pizza on her Waterford crystal. Elena's increasingly desperate texts illustrated the scene. Aurelia Chen looks disgusted. "People are leaving. Mom told everyone, you're mentally unstable. She said, you've always been the family disappointment." The final text from Elena, sent at 9:33 p.m. stated, "Party's over. Everyone left early. Aurelia Chen didn't even stay for dessert. Mom says you're dead to her." I set my phone down and ordered room service breakfast. In 3 hours, I would be dining with Aurelia Chen. I pondered whether she would bring up the fiasco at my parents' home. I wondered if she would recognize my last name. Most importantly, I contemplated what my mother's expression would be upon discovering the truth. The pre-dinner meeting at Pinnacle Resort was set for 7 p.m. I arrived ahead of time, dressed in my finest suit, prepared to finalize the deal of a lifetime. What I did not anticipate was Aurelia Chen entering with a tale to share. "Lily," she greeted me with warmth, although she appeared fatigued. "I must apologize for my tardiness. I just arrived from the most peculiar Christmas Eve gathering in Connecticut." My heart rate remained steady. I had rehearsed for this moment. "Oh, what transpired?" "You will not believe this," she said as she took a seat, shaking her head. "I was invited to what was meant to be a sophisticated dinner party. The hostess, Fiona Carlisle, same last name as you, what a funny coincidence, had promised an elaborate meal prepared by her daughter." I nodded in silence. We arrived to find utter chaos, no food ready, an empty kitchen, and the hostess frantically trying to order pizza. Pizza? For executives and business owners she had been attempting to impress for months? That must have been quite awkward. "It gets worse," she continued. She spent the entire evening disparaging her older daughter, labeling her as unreliable, mentally unstable, and a disappointment to the family. Apparently, this daughter was supposed to handle the cooking but simply vanished. Aurelia then pulled out her phone, displaying a photo taken at the party. There was my mother, her face flushed with embarrassment, pizza boxes visible on her cherished mahogany table. The younger daughter, Elena, was desperately trying to salvage the situation, but it was a complete disaster. She even attempted to pitch me PR services while serving Papa John's on fine china worth more than most people's rent. "Did you stay long?" I inquired. 20 minutes after the pizza arrived, the hostess was so preoccupied with making excuses and blaming her absent daughter that she forgot to actually host. It was, Aurelia paused, searching for the right words, the most unprofessional evening I have ever encountered. The woman even claimed her daughter was too foolish to hold a real job, so she typically just cooked for them. My hands remained steady on my portfolio. That is dreadful, isn't it? I cannot fathom treating family in such a manner. Aurelia opened her menu. Now, let us turn our attention to a more enjoyable topic, your remarkable company. The subsequent segment is where everything unravels in a spectacular fashion. If you have been anticipating the moment when truth collides with consequences, you are about to be greatly pleased. However, first, what would you have done if you were in my situation? Would you have disclosed your identity to Aurelia at that moment? Or would you have waited for an even more opportune time? Please share your thoughts in the comments. I appreciate hearing various viewpoints, and remember, if this narrative resonates with you, the subscribe button aids us in reaching others who may need to hear it. Now, let us proceed to the moment that altered everything. The following morning, December 26th, I found myself in Pinnacle's boardroom, prepared to present to Aurelia and her team. The contract lay on the table. The presentation was impeccable. Everything was progressing smoothly until Aurelia's assistant entered with an iPad. Mrs. Chen, you must see this. A photo from that Connecticut party is going viral on LinkedIn. Aurelia took the iPad, and I observed her expression shift from curiosity to confusion, ultimately culminating in sheer shock. She glanced at me, then back at the screen, and then at me once more. Lily, she said slowly. This photo from the Carlisle residence in Connecticut. She turned the iPad toward me. Someone had shared a family photo from my parents' wall, the one from last Thanksgiving where I was barely visible in the background while Elena posed prominently with our parents. Is this you? I nodded. Yes, Carlisle. Catherine Carlisle is your mother. Yes. The room fell into complete silence. Aurelia's team exchanged looks. The legal counsel set down his pen. The woman who labeled you unreliable, mentally unstable, and unemployable is your mother. Yes. Aurelia rose, walked to the window, and then turned back to confront me. You were supposed to prepare that dinner, the one that ended in a pizza disaster. I was, but you were here meeting with us. I prioritized my business over being treated like a servant. Aurelia accessed something else on her phone. Your mother mentioned that you are unemployed, labeling you a failure who can merely cook. She is unaware of your remarkable achievements. Your own mother does not realize that you are a CEO. She has never inquired. Aurelia took a heavy seat. Allow me to comprehend this. Your family is completely oblivious to the fact that you manage one of the most prosperous catering companies on the East Coast. Not a single one of them knows about your 50 employees, your 3 locations, or the $2 million contract we are on the verge of signing. They believe I am jobless and residing in a studio apartment. Aurelia's business partner, James, interjected. I apologize, but I require clarification. The woman who served pizza on Waterford Crystal last night is unaware that her daughter could have catered that entire event with 5-star quality. She has never inquired about my profession. She simply assumes I am a failure. Aurelia began to laugh. Not a mere polite chuckle, but genuine laughter. Oh my goodness. She spent the entire evening lamenting her disappointment in her daughter. And that daughter is you, the CEO I have been attempting to partner with for 2 years. She glanced at her team. Gentlemen, I believe we are on the brink of signing the most intriguing contract of our careers. Aurelia retrieved her phone once more, this time accessing Google. I need to find out something, she stated, typing my name. The search results appeared almost immediately. Oh my goodness, she turned her phone towards her team. Look at this. The first result was my feature in a hospitality quarterly. The second was the announcement of my nomination for the James Beard Award. The third was a Wall Street Journal article about women entrepreneurs. Your family is unaware of any of this. Before I could respond, her assistant hurried in again. Miss Chen, you will want to see this? Forbes has just revealed their 40 under 40 cover story for tomorrow. He displayed it on the boardroom screen. There I was, a professional headshot front and center with the headline, From Invisible to Invaluable. How Fiona Carlisle established a catering empire without relying on family funds. Aurelia read the preview aloud. Carlisle, 32, transformed a $5,000 investment into a multi-million-dollar business, intentionally steering clear of any familial connections or assistance. I wanted to demonstrate that achieving success does not necessitate a renowned surname or family wealth, Carlisle asserts. She glanced at me. This goes live tomorrow at midnight. Your family remains unaware. They will find out when everyone else does. James whistled softly. Your mother is going to see her unemployed daughter featured on the cover of Forbes. Aurelia's assistant was now browsing through the article preview. It states here that you have a 6-month waiting list for events. Is that accurate? 8 months for peak season, Aurelia replied as she rose. I need to make a phone call. She exited the room, and we could observe her through the glass, animatedly conversing on her phone. She returned 5 minutes later, wearing an unusual smile. I just contacted Catherine Carlisle. My stomach sank. You what? I informed her that I was quite dissatisfied with last night's event and that I would be taking my business elsewhere. She implored me to reconsider, claiming it was entirely her older daughter's fault. Aurelia. Then I told her I had just signed a $2 million contract with the most talented entrepreneur I know. Who? She asked. I replied, your daughter, Fiona Carlisle, CEO of Stellar Events. The room fell silent. The sound she made, Aurelia continued, was as if all the air had been drawn from her lungs. Then she hung up on me. My phone, which I had kept on silent, displayed 47 missed calls in the last 3 minutes, all from my mother. Aurelia extended her hand across the table. Miss Carlisle, let us finalize this contract. I believe we have a partnership to celebrate. As I inscribed my name on the $2 million contract, my phone illuminated with a text from my father. Your mother just fainted. What on earth is Stellar Events? The contract was executed, champagne was poured, and my phone incessantly buzzed. I ultimately excused myself to check the messages. Mother, please answer your phone immediately. Elena, is this some sort of cruel joke? Father, your mother is in a state of hysteria. Kindly call Elena. Aurelia Chin has just informed everyone that you are a CEO. Mother, this is truly unkind. Lily, pretending to be successful in order to humiliate us. I returned to the boardroom where Aurelia and her team were still in celebration. My family believes I am fabricating my status as a CEO. Aurelia's eyes sparkled with excitement. Would you like me to send them something? Before I could reply, she was capturing a photo of me alongside the signed contract, the Pinnacle executive team, and the champagne. She typed swiftly and pressed send. I have just posted it on LinkedIn, she announced, tagging Stellar Events, Pinnacle Hospitality, and Catherine Carlisle from Connecticut. The post stated, I am thrilled to announce our 2-year partnership with Stellar Events and their remarkable CEO, Fiona Carlisle. Her company's excellence in luxury catering will enhance Pinnacle's guest experience across all properties. It is amazing to collaborate with someone who has built their empire from the ground up. Within moments, the post received numerous likes and comments. Industry leaders with whom I had collaborated for years offered their congratulations. Former clients recounted their experiences with stellar events. My phone began to ring. Elena, I answered on speakerphone with Aurelia's consent. This cannot be real. Elena's voice trembled. It is real. You have been a CEO all this time, for 5 years. Why did you not inform us? You never inquired. You all presumed I was a failure and treated me as such. Mother is experiencing a breakdown. She is calling all her friends in an attempt to explain. Everyone has seen Aurelia's post. That is no longer my concern. How can you be so unfeeling? I glanced at Aurelia and her team, all accomplished professionals who had never once doubted my value. I am not unfeeling, Elena. I am finished. I am finished being invisible until you require a cook. I am finished being the family disappointment. I am finished pretending to be less than I truly am to make you comfortable. But we are family. Family does not treat one another like servants. Please contact me when you are prepared to meet Fiona Carlisle, the CEO, rather than Lily the cook. I ended the call. Aurelia lifted her champagne glass to signify boundaries. We all raised our glasses in a toast, and for the first time in my life, I felt genuinely acknowledged. That evening, I finally returned my mother's call. She picked up before the first ring had completed. How could you do this to us? She was in tears. Actually crying. Do what exactly? Humiliate us. Aurelia Chin informed everyone at the country club about your company. People are calling, inquiring why we were unaware of our own daughter's success. You never inquired about my life. Mom, we did ask. We were aware that you cooked occasionally. You presumed I was a failure. For 5 years, you have introduced me as unemployed. You have never once asked about my job, my apartment, or my life. You should have informed us. I attempted to. Do you recall 3 years ago when I mentioned acquiring a significant client? You immediately shifted the conversation to Elena's PR campaign for an energy drink. You explicitly stated, "That's nice, dear, but Elena's work is really taking off." Silence. I left catering figures on my counter. I continued in a calm manner. You could have salvaged the party. We do not possess keys to your apartment. You have never expressed a desire to visit my apartment. You are not even aware of where I reside. That is not how a mother should act. I employ 50 individuals. I have 3 locations. I have been featured in numerous publications. I was nominated for a James Beard Award. And you believed I was unemployed because that was simpler than actually acknowledging my achievements. Where is your family? My family requires a servant. My business requires a CEO. I chose my business. This is driven by spite. No, Mom. This is about self-respect. I have created something remarkable, and I accomplished it without any assistance from you. Not your finances, not your connections, not even your faith in me. What do you desire from us? Nothing anymore. That is the crux of the matter. For the first time in my life, I require absolutely nothing from you, Lily. The Forbes article will be published at midnight. You may want to brace yourself. It outlines precisely how I established my company without familial support. You informed Forbes about our situation. I shared my truth with Forbes. If that causes you embarrassment, perhaps you should reflect on the reasons why. I could hear my father's voice in the background. Catherine, perhaps we ought to listen. I have ceased to listen. My mother reprimanded him, then turned to me. You have ruined this family. No, Mom. I have finally established my own life. Contact me when you are prepared to be a part of it. As equals, not as master and servant. I gently hung up, feeling lighter than I had in years. The social repercussions arrived swiftly and harshly, but not for me. Within 48 hours of Aurelia's LinkedIn post, my family's meticulously maintained reputation had collapsed. The country club gossip mill was operating at full capacity, and Elena's frantic texts revealed the situation. Pinnacle has just terminated our PR contract. Aurelia Chin stated they do not collaborate with individuals who lack family values. This resulted in a $500,000 annual loss for Elena's firm. Mom was removed from the charity board. They claimed it was unrelated, but everyone is aware. Dad's golf friends are inquiring how he was unaware that his own daughter was a millionaire. The Forbes article had gone viral within our Connecticut social circle. The headline alone, created without any family funds, was damaging enough, but the quote that truly devastated them was hidden in paragraph 3. My family presumed I was unemployed. It was simpler to construct an empire in silence than to contest their assumptions. My father finally reached out to me directly, something he had not done in years. Lily, I need to express something. I waited. I knew you were involved in catering. I noticed the business registration years ago when our mail got mixed up, but your mother was so convinced about who you were meant to be. I should have spoken out. I feel ashamed. It was the most sincere thing he had communicated to me in 15 years. Why didn't you? I inquired. Because it was simpler to allow her narrative to prevail than to challenge it. I now realize that made me complicit. Your success is extraordinary, and we overlooked it because we were not paying attention. Dad, your mother has lost 3 charity positions. Elena's firm is suffering significant client losses. Everyone is curious about how we could treat our accomplished daughter as if she were merely hired help, while simultaneously lauding Elena for her lackluster public relations efforts. I never intended to cause anyone pain. You did not harm us, Lily. We inflicted the pain upon ourselves. We constructed a narrative in which you redeemed the failure and Elena was celebrated as the success. Now, it is evident to all that we were mistaken. He took a moment to collect his thoughts. That pizza incident has already become a legendary tale at the country club. Fiona Carlisle, who has boasted about her entertaining skills for years, served Papa John's on Waterford Crystal while her CEO daughter was finalizing million-dollar contracts. Despite everything, I felt a flicker of compassion. Dad, I do not offer an apology. We have earned every single consequence. While my family grappled with their social disaster, my life flourished in the most positive manner. The Forbes article featured a photograph of me at the height of my success, champagne in hand, surrounded by executives who appreciated my contributions. The stark difference to my family's Thanksgiving picture, where I appeared in the background like hired help, was not overlooked by anyone. Within a week of the article's release, Stellar Events received over 200 inquiries. High-end clients who had previously hesitated suddenly sought to collaborate with the CEO who had built an empire from the ground up. My inbox overflowed with requests for interviews, speaking opportunities, and partnership proposals. Aurelia Chin emerged as my most ardent supporter. She connected me with her network, sharing the tale of the Christmas Eve debacle with barely concealed delight. Just imagine, she would say, having a golden goose in your home and treating it like a servant duck. 3 significant contracts resulted from those introductions alone, totaling a remarkable $10 million. I recruited 20 new employees to manage the expansion, promoting Maria to executive chef and James to COO. During our meeting on growth strategies, Maria expressed a sentiment that resonated with me. You know what I appreciate most about this company? You established it for individuals who were overlooked. Half of us were told we would never achieve anything. She was absolutely correct. I had unknowingly employed individuals similar to myself, gifted people who had been dismissed, overlooked, or undervalued. My assistant sent me a message from a journalist. Your story is gaining traction. Food Network is interested in discussing a documentary tentatively titled, Invisible to Invaluable, the Fiona Carlisle story. However, a highlight was when I received an invitation to speak at Cornell's School of Hotel Administration. This was my dream institution, one that my parents had deemed too ambitious for me. The subject would be, Achieving Success Without Seeking Permission, Forging Your Own Path in the Hospitality Industry. As I went over my speaking notes, my phone vibrated with a message from my mother. We need to talk, please. I stared at it for a considerable time. Then I archived the message and returned to planning my future. I had learned that success was the most effective response to disrespect. Yet, establishing boundaries was the greatest gift I could offer myself. 3 months later, I consented to meet my family at a neutral venue, a serene restaurant in Manhattan, my domain. They appeared different, somehow smaller. My mother had lost her commanding presence, Elena her arrogance, and my father seemed to have aged significantly. Before anyone could speak, I declared, placing a single sheet of paper on the table. These are my conditions. They leaned in to read. 1. Mutual respect or no communication. 2. No more treatment as a servant ever. 3. Public recognition of my achievements. 4. A sincere apology, not merely words. 5. Therapy, both family and individual. This is non-negotiable. I continued. I will be your daughter, not your servant. Your sister, not your staff. Those are my conditions. My mother's eyes brimmed with tears. Lily, we have lost everything. My reputation. Elena's clients. That is not my responsibility, Mom. We understand. My father interjected. We are not here to place blame on you. We are here to request a second chance. Elena spoke for the first time. I was envious. You excelled at everything, but Mom made me feel special by diminishing you. I now realize how unhealthy that was. It was the most truthful she had been in years. I now attend therapy, she mentioned softly. The therapist indicated that we established a family dynamic in which one person had to serve as the scapegoat for the others to feel accomplished. You were designated that role before you even had a chance to resist it. My mother extended her hand across the table but refrained from making contact. I apologize. Not solely for Christmas Eve, but for 15 years of ignorance. I transformed you into a servant because I could not tolerate the thought of you being more successful than the future I envisioned for you. I gazed at each of them. I will contemplate it, but understand this. I will not return to the same family. If we are to rebuild, it must be as equals. They acknowledged my words. And Mother, you will be paying the full amount if you ever wish for stellar events to cater anything. For the first time in months, she genuinely smiled. Fair enough. 6 months later, I organized my inaugural family dinner in my actual apartment. The two-bedroom condo overlooking Central Park that they had never known existed. My team from Stellar Events handled the catering since I no longer prepared meals for family gatherings. That was a boundary I would never breach again. As my parents and Elena sat at my dining table, being served by my employees who referred to me as boss, the role reversal was evident to all. However, this was not about vengeance. It was about honesty. I want to clarify something, I stated, lifting my glass of wine. Success does not require permission. Self-worth does not need validation. And respect is non-negotiable. My mother nodded in agreement. She had been in therapy for 4 months and had publicly apologized at the country club, acknowledging her previous blindness to my achievements. While it did not restore her reputation, it initiated the healing of our relationship. Elena's PR firm had shifted its focus, and she had professionally and humbly inquired if Stellar Events would consider her for our PR requirements. I instructed her to submit a proposal like everyone else. She complied, and it was impressive. We were in the process of evaluating it. My father had unexpectedly become my ally, finally discovering his voice after years of silence. He now introduced me as his daughter, the CEO, with sincere pride. However, the most significant transformation occurred within me. I ceased to conceal my achievements or diminish my brilliance to accommodate others. My business expanded to 100 employees across 5 cities. The Food Network documentary received widespread acclaim. Each morning, I gazed into the mirror and affirmed, I am Fiona Carlisle, CEO of Stellar Events, not merely the family servant. Never again. Your worth does not diminish due to someone else's inability to recognize it. Keep that in mind. I appreciate you accompanying me on this journey from being unnoticed to becoming invaluable. If my narrative resonates with you, I would be eager to hear about a moment when you prioritized yourself over familial expectations. Please leave a comment below. Your experience may be precisely what someone else needs to hear today. If you believe that everyone deserves respect, irrespective of their position, kindly share this video with someone who could benefit from it. Subscribe for more stories about individuals who refuse to remain small. Remember, you are not required to sacrifice yourself to keep others comfortable. Until next time, this is Lily encouraging you to recognize your value and then add tax.